Welcome to another episode of Beer and Bag for our podcast, episode 2 of, I guess, what we're calling season 2. Hopefully, this one sounds a lot better than every other episode we've done, because for the first time ever, we're recording on, like, somewhat decent equipment, rather than just having one microphone in the middle of an echoey room. We now all have handheld mics going through a recorder where we can monitor some levels and listen on headphones and record 2 separate tracks for better editing. So
Levels.
So yeah, Zoom. What is this thing called? PodTrack P4 is what we're trying to do this on now. So we'll see how it goes. It can't be worse. It cannot be worse than it already was.
No, it cannot. And most of that is my fault. I feel like actually our last setup should have worked, but I made some complicated technical mistakes. But
even then, I still feel like the last episode was better than previously.
Yeah, and this will be better by far than even that. Even that could have been if I had done it perfectly, probably.
Sure.
What are you drinking, Jordan?
Oh boy, this is 903 Brewers Sasquatch with cocoa nibs. It has chocolate in it. It's really good. I did not realize that this was 12.5%, so starting strong.
All right.
And this is out of Sherman, Texas, apparently.
Interesting.
I stole a Stone IPA out of your fridge. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's oh my gosh. So, you know how I've always been like, it's beer for like random stuff?
Yeah.
That is literally PBR's new ad campaign.
Really?
Is it really?
It tastes like beer.
Oh, no.
That's what it is.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm not drinking a beer currently, but I am drinking water out of a redneck soap opera quadruple from Licking Hole Creek.
To clarify, it's the glass bottle, the big like 750 ml glass bottle that has been very nicely cut and apparently sanded, I'm guessing, also down into a cup, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, this is my favorite thing. These bottles from Licking Hole Creek are my favorite. I keep wanting to say Triple Crossing. I don't know why. Licking Hole Creek, they have really nice, pleasing labels to touch, and so turning them into cups is great. So I did want to talk about 2 beers that I had recently. Last time we recorded, we talked about that beer from Stone that I forget the name of all of a sudden. Fear Movie Lions, right?
There you go.
And I remember how I had it and it was terrible. Mm-hmm. I had it again out of a can, and it's like 1,000 times better.
Remind me, how did you have it the last time when you did not like it?
It was a bottle. It was a glass bottle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Weird.
I don't know. And I was talking to Adam, and he said that it's even better than the can if you get it on tap somewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely best on tap. I've had cans and tap. Tap is always.
It's amazing to me how different storage mediums impart such different flavor quality to beer. Like, personally, I do not really care for, like, for example, Hardywood Gingerbread Stout on tap that much. I don't think it's very good, but in a bottle, it's freaking amazing, especially in a can, too. But yeah, it's crazy how much effect that has.
I think the seasoning of the lines, like from the keg to the head, has a lot to do with, like bringing you like a nostalgic flavor. Like you go to your favorite bar and like the lines are seasoned just right.
Yeah, sure, I understand. So the second beer that I wanted to talk about was I had the occasion to finally drink a beer that I've been waiting since I think 2015 to drink.
Whoa.
You've just had it like aging this whole time?
Whoa.
I bought around that time, around Christmas time, it was either Christmas 2015 or Christmas 2016. I can't remember exactly which one. It doesn't really matter. The point is, I've had this beer for that long. I bought a St. Bernardus Abbott 12 that was oak aged.
Oh my God.
It was like the special edition for that Christmas or whatever. And I bought a big bottle of it. And I gave it to Jack, and I said, when I get engaged, we're going to open this and drink it. And then
I actually remember that, I think.
Then I got engaged 2 weeks ago, and we opened it. And oh my God, it's probably the best beer I've ever had.
I don't doubt it. That sounds awesome.
It was incredible. It was so good. I love oak aged beers. I love Trappist beers. So like,
and I feel like they keep it like some beers like Trappist beers. I feel like they keep the flavors simple enough where it works really well aged. Whereas like I've tried multiple times to age things like I had a I think 4-year-old bottle of Kentucky Christmas Morning earlier this summer, and it was not very good. It just tasted like an okay stout. Like all the actual flavor that made it like what it was gone. There's like no spices, no gingerbread left. It was just an okay stout.
Yeah.
But I think if you start out with a very simple but robust beer like an oak aged Trappist beer, it is
I don't think I've ever even heard of Trappist.
Trappist is a style of beer from Belgium.
Okay.
The brewery is St. Bernardus.
Okay.
Well, Trappist beer in general, I believe, is a very specific type of beer brewed by a very specific order of monks.
Oh, okay.
That is true. The Trappist monks.
It's like super old. Like super old.
It's like the oldest beer. Or some of the oldest beer. That has been continuously made.
I think that's technically. I think Weinstefaner has that locked down.
Really,
I believe so. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Nah.
I think that's the longest continuously operating brewery currently operating.
What was it?
Weinstefaner.
She's that girl from No Doubt, right?
You can leave. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. So, moving on. Oh man, I've had a couple of ideas for like recurring bits for the show. So I don't know if you guys would be interested in that. They're like, I don't want to say lowbrow, but they're like
low hanging fruit,
low importance. Like not, there's not really like an hours long discussion.
Okay.
To have. One of them was like basically. We can call it whatever you want, car spotting or whatever, but like just have you seen any interesting cars on the road recently?
I saw an orange McLaren on the way here.
That's cool.
The 670 or
I'm not going to lie, they all look pretty much exactly the same to me, so I don't know.
They do all look the same.
It was an orange McLaren, and I'm pretty sure I've seen it before around here, but I thought you don't see an orange McLaren every day around here, so.
I've seen there's a hybrid one.
The Senna?
Hold on.
Isn't the Senna a track-only car?
Oh, I'm sorry. The P1. No,
P1.
the Senna is not track
P1.
But also, the Senna is faster than the P1. Actually, the 720S is faster than the P1.
But there's a yellow P1 that I've seen pretty regularly around like the Innsbruck area. I've seen it 3 times now on Broad Street. Yeah, very nice.
So I see kind
hurt myself every time.
Yeah, I understand. I see cool cars occasionally because I'm on the road constantly. On the way home from work the other day, on the ramp off of Powhite onto Chippenham, I saw a B7 Alpina.
Oh, the 7 Series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I used to see those all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen one in person.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're pretty rare these days.
Yeah.
I don't know can you get them through a BMW dealer? Is that how that works? Okay.
But they were also garbage. I mean, steaming piles of shit. Really? Yeah, all of those 7 Series and 5 Series from that like era of BMW, like 2010s, 2005s to 10.
Yeah, something like that.
Age.
That looks newer than that, though, to me at least. I'm not super well versed in the BMW stuff.
But I thought I had another one, but I can't remember what it was.
I just spent a week in the mountains, or I guess so. We were at Clear Lake State Park. We went to Dublin for a day to go into the town, and there's, I mean, just like it's the smallest town, like one stoplight type situation, and lots of like little mom and pop garages with just rust farms, in the back of all these shops. There was a lot of cool old, like, I saw probably 30 60s era Ford Rancheros in behind this one shop. Old Cadillacs, pretty cool, like first generation Corvettes and stuff. What you would expect to find in like the backwoods of like, basically West Virginia.
Yeah, right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen a whole lot other than McLaren. I haven't really seen a whole lot on the road, but we did have a C8 in the shop recently for the first time having mechanical work done. We've had one on the dyno before, just for like baseline stuff.
I remembered what I saw.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna need some help from Pierce.
The De Tomaso?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pantera?
No, it was
whatever.
It's the
I can't think of what it's freaking called.
It's the
Mangusta or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, the Mangusta, yeah.
So who makes it though? I can't remember because
I had to Google it after I got that picture.
I was aware that car exists, but I knew like nothing about it until I also had to Google it. because the Mangusta originally was made by De Tomaso, but that one was made by Quval.
Yeah,
QVALE.
QVALE.
QVALE would be Cavalli. I think.
Cavalli Mangusta is what I saw on the road, like in Innsbruck. Like,
yeah,
I did some maneuvers to get close to take a picture.
I saw one at Classics on the Green, and
yeah.
I thought it was they look very similar to the BMW Z8, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That weird coupe thing that they had with the doors.
The one that was in
down.
a James Bond. No, the Z1 has the slide down doors. The Z8 was sold here and did not have slide down doors. It was also very weird looking.
Well, either one of those. I'm not sure which one I'm specifically referring to. But.
It was in the movie. It was either Tomorrow Never Dies or The World Is Not Enough. It was one of those two James Bond movies it was in. It gets cut in half by a helicopter with a bunch of, like the blades they use to trim trees on the side of the highway. Oh. It gets cut in half by one of those.
Sounds like a very Bond thing to happen.
I forgot about that scene.
It's not the best James Bond movie, but it's pretty good. Oh, kind of related. I got the complete James Bond Blu-ray collection for Father's Day, which was my birthday, actually. Not Father's Day, but for my birthday.
Is that like 20-some movies?
It's everything from Dr. No to Spectre, which was the most recent one. I'm very much looking forward to adding this upcoming one, No Time to Die, to that collection, because that's the last Daniel Craig one.
Yeah.
It'll be a nice round box set.
That'll be cool. So I also wanted to do just a bit of follow-up from the last episode, which I don't know if you guys have listened to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I figured you did.
Wait, are you asking if we've listened to our own podcast episode?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course I have.
Okay. No, I know. You edited it, so.
Well, okay. I mean, but even besides that, I've listened to it like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, me too. I've listened to it 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really like Pierce's editing style.
It
turned out really nice.
Thank you.
I agree. First of all, Camrys are not CVT.
Okay.
Oh, the V6s?
None of them.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
I think excuse me. I did some Googling, and I believe maybe the hybrid is.
That would not shock
but
me.
it's just that.
Was it an 8-speed auto or 10-speed?
There are 2 different ones. I think I don't remember all the details off the top of my head right now, but I was mad again while listening to it, and I was Googling at a stoplight, like trying to find the answers. And yeah, there was a CVT option, but it's not all of them.
So it's mostly like traditional automatics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why do they feel so shitty?
I don't know. It honestly doesn't feel that bad to me. I don't know.
I mean, I've literally, as I said in the previous episode, I've literally only driven the 4-cylinder like basic fleet option, and they just all feel, unless you have it in sport mode, they just all feel like CVTs. They all feel so just boring and soft.
It's just trying to get the best fuel economy.
I'm sure that it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I drove it around in sport mode most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, you have to.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. It says sport, obviously. It makes it faster.
Yeah, right.
Duh. Yeah. And okay, so the one other thing. I got cut off, or you got cut off or something like that, saying that evap systems are useless.
Evap?
Yeah.
Or...
It does cause a lot of check engine lights, and you have to replace a lot of expensive assemblies.
Well, was it the evap, or because we were talking about EGR systems, right?
Yeah, we were talking about emissions systems for carb standards and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You said something to the effect of like, evap systems don't actually do anything anyways.
I probably didn't mean that they don't do anything, because they do, but they are. I mean, it's a stupid system. I feel like it could be engineered in a similar manner. They could have something working in that way without, like, it doesn't need to be that complicated. It shouldn't have to be all that. Like, Toyota's got pressurized pumps now that they're using in their systems, and they all go bad, and to test them is, you got to have special equipment, and it's so circular to diagnose anything. You almost just have to replace like the entire system every time. It's frustrating, and I hate it.
That's totally fair. That's a reasonable argument that I can agree with you with.
Yeah.
The way, because the conversation like died like right after you said that. You said this thing that was like statement of fact. Evap's don't do anything, and I was like, wait a second, no, we gotta,
Yeah, they definitely do, and I mean, the benefit is fuel economy, right? I mean, it helps to keep your fuel tank from building up pressure. It helps with your fuel economy, and there are a lot of benefits to it. But I mean, do we really need to have 8 lines and 5 solenoids and charcoal canisters? And
definitely not.
I'm just saying,
definitely not.
Yeah,
it's just another part of that the never-ending trend of every new car becomes one step more complicated and more expensive to try to fix with more things to fail.
You know, looking back on the cars that I've had and, you know, enjoy, these cars that are coming out these days are not going to be relevant 30 years from now. You know, with all the computer systems that they have in them, with all these redundant, you know, evap systems and everything like that.
I don't see, like, cars from the 80s, you still see 80s cars around on occasion. The biggest problem they had was rust.
Yeah.
But, like, mechanically, they're still fine.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't think we're going to see a lot of 2020 models around in 2050.
Nope.
They're not going to last. Or they're going to fail in ways where it's like something relatively simple fails, but it's so prohibitively expensive because you have to replace an entire assembly at great cost that it's not worth fixing.
I hear you. I saw an interesting take on that a little while ago that basically said, like, the only cars that you're going to see in that time frame, you know, 2020 cars in 2050 or whatever, are things like Lexus and Mercedes and things like that, where people can afford to maintain them the way that they're supposed to be, and those are the people that are buying, those are the cars that those people are buying.
I disagree.
I definitely disagree with the Mercedes one, because I've known a couple of guys that have worked at Mercedes dealerships, and the people that come in with 10 to 15-year-old Mercedes, they buy the car for $10,000, and something breaks, and it costs $10,000 to fix, and they just throw the car away.
That's fair. Yeah. It was a article I read or something like that just talked about that.
That's fine. I'm not attacking you personally. I'm just saying,
I know,
like, as a discussion, I also disagree, but because I feel like, you know, Lexus and Mercedes, those are the cars that have, you know, like, your basic standard Ford has 30 computers in it. Your Lexus or your Mercedes is going to have like 50 or 60 because they've got all the specialized, like, 4-zone heat and AC and massaging chairs. Yeah. And so when those computer systems go bad in 5 or 10 years, those are the cars that the manufacturer, like the aftermarket manufacturers, are not going to be making those piddly little computers for.
And because it's a CAN bus system, if you remove that, like, you can, like in the 80s, like, if there's something that broke, you could just remove it
or just leave it broken.
Yeah, just delete it, and the car will still work. Just that thing won't work. But now it's like everything is so networked together that if one module has a fault in it, the entire car is just a paperweight.
Yeah. I'm thinking of my, I think it was an 86 200 SX. I don't remember what year it was.
The red one?
Yeah.
Where the one with the snow on the turbo line?
Yeah. I had put a digital dash cluster in that car just for, you know, the 80s cool factor. And then I found out, because I found it in a junkyard, and then I found out that those things are worth like $300, $400.
Oh, yeah.
On the forums. So I sold it immediately, and I drove around without a cluster at all in the vehicle for like the majority of the time that I owned it.
That's amazing.
But you know, that is not even a reasonable thought on cars these days.
The car just wouldn't start.
Every system goes through the cluster. You know, if it doesn't see that odometer reading, none of the computers will go through their startup cycle. So like on like a Toyota or a Ford, the aftermarket manufacturers would be making those even smaller modules, like the key fob, remote entry, whatever type things. But like for the Lexuses and the Mercedes, they're not going to bother making, you know, your massaging seat computer module or whatever, because it's not cost effective for them. So that car is going to be a brick in 5 or 10 years.
I feel like
in my mind, I don't know. We could be totally wrong about all this.
I feel like we're already seeing some of that now with especially German and European cars, where like Land Rovers will have random failures, and it costs the depreciation on them is so severe that it costs the price of the car to fix it, and people just either they cough up the money or they just toss away and go buy something else. It's something that we're already seeing, because this type of thing has been growing over the last 2 decades or so.
For sure. And I don't think I don't think anybody has thought about the ecological impact
of
that either.
No. It's so much better for the environment to keep an old car going than it is to buy a new car.
And everybody's worried about
to a point. There is a crossover point.
Yes.
But
everybody's like, oh, smog and like your emissions and all this crap. I mean, just think about the amount of emissions that are being produced by manufacturing
to create the car.
5 million new cars every year.
50%. 50% of a car's lifetime emissions are generated by
just in the manufacturing process. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think
based on like a 10-year lifespan.
I think so.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think for the last I heard was for a Prius to be worth buying a Prius to offset the emissions.
Yeah,
you have to drive that car for more than 10 years.
Now Priuses and like Teslas and stuff, those are special cases though,
because of all the lithium and the batteries and the cobalt and the heavy metals.
But even just like your standard vehicle, the precious metals that are involved in all the computers and stuff these days. Yeah.
Not to mention all the plastics that are all these plastics that are never going to biodegrade, that are just going to sit in landfills when they get recycled eventually.
Yeah. So I can't think of who it was now, but
Engineering Explained has done a lot of videos on this very topic.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, I forgot what I was
okay,
saying.
That's cool. That's fine.
My bad.
I might take this opportunity to go grab another beverage.
Same.
Would anyone else like a beverage?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to mute all the channels. All right, and we're back with the new beverages. Corey, what are you drinking? You got anything new going on?
No, I have. I did get some whiskey. I got Jefferson Ocean. This is a single malt bourbon, I believe, that is aged in barrels that I believe are put on a ship and literally aged
at sea.
At sea.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't know how that works.
Why?
Why not?
Because it's bougie.
It is bougie. It is very expensive.
It's the most basic.
I'm glad you acknowledge that.
I've ever heard of.
It's very expensive.
Did you know
it's good.
That imperial stouts were named such because that was the only way they could get beer into Russia at winter, was to have such high alcohol content that they wouldn't freeze in the ships?
Oh no.
That is the most Russian thing I've ever heard.
I'm saying. Pierce, what are you drinking?
I've got a Devil's Backbone 8 Point, which is a very basic IPA.
That's pretty good.
They're not bad.
No.
Not bad.
I'm drinking a Outer Banks Brewing Station lemongrass wheat ale. What?
Did you pick that up when we went down there?
Yes.
Did you do that on the way home?
Maybe.
When did you go to?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Also, I had a coworker who was in the Outer Banks last weekend. I was like, hey, I posted, because a lot of our guys are in North Carolina. I was like, hey, I don't know how far they distribute this. If anybody sees this, can you pick it up? And one of my coworkers picked me up 2 4-packs of it while he was down there.
Gotcha.
Because he's a pro. Shout out to John. I had a couple of like random car news things that we could talk about.
Okay.
None of them are like particularly worthy of extensive discussion, but that might be worth just bringing up.
Yeah.
So Hyundai is canceling all Veloster models except for the N.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
That's weird. Is the N
the best one?
The best one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has like 270 horsepower, something like that.
No way.
Yeah, it's like close to 300. Yeah.
That's a lot. Is there a model between the N and the turbo?
No.
I didn't.
They have a base model, a turbo, and then the N.
Well, there are at least 4 models of Veloster. Because I think there's one of them has hubcaps, I believe.
I think the base model has an option for hubcaps.
Because they're bringing back the N Elantra.
That was the other thing I wanted to talk about. They're putting the Veloster N drivetrain into an Elantra, which I am all here for.
Yeah, I actually really missed that they had the Elantra GT and for a couple of years, the hatchback. And I really like that car. I wish that they had done like an all-wheel drive.
Overseas, they have
of course they do.
The Honda i30, I think it's called. It's like a Honda Fit sized, Ford Fiesta sized hatchback. They sell that as an N trim with like 200 some odd horsepower. in a 6-speed manual as a Hyundai i30N overseas, which would be a lot of fun, and I might consider buying one if they brought it here. But
you said Honda at the beginning.
I'm sorry,
okay.
Hyundai.
Okay.
Hyundai.
Gotcha.
Hyundai like Sunday.
But yeah, the Elantra N could be cool because they come with either 6-speed manual or a dual clutch transmission, both of which are pretty cool. And the Veloster, the Veloster N is supposedly, if you can find it that's not dealer markupped like crazy, it's a pretty good bargain. You can get them for like low 30s, and it's like almost Civic Type R performance for 75% of the price.
I haven't seen anything that says that they're going to be all-wheel drive.
No.
They have all-wheel drive chassis.
Yeah, but I mean,
they should.
Personally, I would take a well set up front wheel drive car over a kind of mediocreized all wheel drive car. You can front wheel drive, like people shit on front wheel drive. It's still a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that if they wanted, because I mean, when they were selling the Elantra GT and they were touting it as like a GTI competitor, and I feel like, I mean, the GTI wasn't all-wheel drive, was it?
The Golf R is all-wheel drive.
But if they wanted to really like step it up and take it to Volkswagen like that, you know, they could do an all-wheel drive thing and really like compete and like be, you know, really, I don't know, help the brand a little bit, because
they're never going to compete with Volkswagen's interior quality. That's right. When you buy a Volkswagen, that's like a GTI. That's what you're really paying for, is the interior, like the really nice, quiet interior that can just cruise at highway speeds, being real quiet.
Maybe, but I hate.
And the materials are nicer too.
I really dislike the interior setup of the new Volkswagens.
I have not been in any. The most recent Volkswagen I've been in was Corey's GTI, which is what, a 12? It's a 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the Veloster, from the Veloster Wikipedia page. The Veloster lineup includes the base Veloster, the Veloster 2.0 Premium, the Veloster Turbo R-Spec, the Veloster Turbo, and the Veloster Turbo Ultimate. There is also a high-performance N version.
So 6.
That's too many.
Apparently.
That makes sense why they're consolidating down, but not eliminating everything but the N seems a bit crazy, because the N starts at like $30,000. They're not super cheap.
But they have other hatchbacky vehicles, like the Hyundai Venue. Basically the same car, but it's a little bit more spacious.
So
and the Kona. We can't forget the Kona.
I scrolled down a little bit to like the actual chart with like the graph thing for all the models, and the models are these are all the Greek letters: new, 2.0 MPI, Kappa 2 4.1 TGDI, the Gamma 2 1.6 TGDI, the Theta 2.02 TGDI. Yeah. So, anyways, it's very confusing, is what I'm trying to say. I think what this means is that there is the base 2 turbo versions and the N version. Apparently in 2020.
I know there's on top of the N, there is a further performance pack that you can buy that has like a torque vectoring differential and all kinds of other fun stuff on it.
So in 2020, they put an 8-speed automatic in it, I guess.
Not in the N.
Unless DCT means something else.
DCT is dual clutch.
Hyundai has an 8-speed transmission right now that has tons of problems.
Yeah, the Veloster N only comes in. It might be an 8-speed DCT, but it's dual clutch or manual. There's no like standard automatic. Option.
So there's a dual clutch or a 6-speed option. The dual clutch is a full second and a bit faster to 100 kilometers an hour.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, it probably shifts like crazy, stupid fast.
I know. It just seems wild. Anyways, sorry, I was deep in the Wikipedia rabbit hole there.
No, that's cool. Interesting article that I was reading earlier today about how the Ford got the F-150 Lightning, the upcoming electric version of the F-150, to be of similar price point to the gas version. It's exactly what you would expect. It's just mass production. They're sharing all of those batteries and motors with future SUV electric options. It's pretty cool because it's the system working in the best way possible. It's a good example of how the system works in a positive way.
So like somebody just coming in off the street looking for an F-150 could be like, I'm looking at this base Ford F-150, or here's a hybrid version.
Maybe not the base, because I think it starts in the upper 40s for the Lightning. But like if you're looking at a mid-range F-150, the Lightning comes with similar options at a relatively similar price point, and I think that's pretty cool because I'm a big fan of electric trucks. I think it's a great application for that.
I agree.
The other thing I had was the new Mazda SUV that's going to replace the CX-5 is going to be powered by an inline-6, which they've had patented for a while. Mazda's had a patent out for an inline-6 motor for like 5 or 6 years now.
Since 2018.
Yeah.
Wow. Because they filed the patent at the same time as they filed the patent for the chassis for the RX Vision.
Yeah.
So that was actually
it may have been older than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a rear biased all-wheel drive CX. I think the speculation is that it's going to be called the CX-50, and then the bigger one's going to be the CX-90.
Interesting.
They're super creative over in Mazda, apparently.
Yeah, well.
But I think that's cool. More straight sixes is a good thing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
What do they hope to accomplish with that, though?
Mazda is trying desperately to go up market and see themselves as more of a Lexus than a Toyota competitor. You can kind of see this in their current lineup. The current gen Mazda 3, they kind of tried really hard, especially with the interior. And they've been upping their interior game significantly over the last decade or so.
Even though the 3s and the CX-30s, I think, is the little SUV.
The CX-30 is the Mazda 2 based crossover, yes.
Yeah. They're very, very nice cars.
Yeah. My mom has a CX-9 and a Mazda 6 that she bought. Both bought new. And the interior on both of those, it's a really nice place to be.
And the new cars, like from 2020 and 2021, are only getting better. I mean, just every year it's more features, nicer, just
materials.
Well, nicer materials, but like the presence of the cabin is just, it has a more comfortable feeling.
Like how it's laid out?
Yeah. It's not so, like, even Lexus has sort of overcomplicated things where there's just too many buttons and switches.
Yeah.
But Mazdas have a lot of the same features that just, they're not distracting.
Yeah. Like Lexus tried to go all in on that mouse pad technology.
Yeah, oh
no, it's garbage.
Yeah.
Hot garbage.
Yeah. I know that I'm not alone when I say this, but just give me a physical button.
I'm saying.
But you can, so BMW is doing that, and the end result is a center console with 58 buttons on it. You can't find anything that you need in a hurry.
It's like 1997 all
Nothing
over
is
again.
where it's supposed to be. Nothing is relevant, and it's just frustrating.
That's fair.
There's a really good video on YouTube from probably 5 or 6 years ago at this point, where it's a Mazda design engineer talking about how they designed their, it's not really necessarily the multimedia interface, but it's that little click wheel that they have in the center console.
Yeah.
They designed it specifically so that you could navigate menus, because like eventually intuitively you remember where things are, so you kind of be like, oh, the thing I want is 3 clicks to the right, you enter, 2 clicks to the left, enter. And that they very intentionally designed the entire interface like that, so that you wouldn't have to take your eyes off the road, go to a touchscreen, push a button like you do on a lot of cars, which I absolutely hate.
Yeah, it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It's like using an old iPod, you know.
Yeah.
You knew like clicks and
100%. Yeah.
The tacticality or whatever.
Tactile feedback.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a lot of the touchpad, the mouse pad thing that you were talking about, and like touchscreens, they'll lock you out of
while you're moving.
Yeah, a lot of features while the car is moving. And it's like, all I want to do is like change from like FM to Bluetooth or whatever, and you can't even do that while you're moving.
The C8 Corvette actually kind of copied the Mazda design, but I think in an interesting way, where the Mazda design is just a knob in the middle of the center console that obviously rotates, and then also you push down on it to like click to enter your selection. Mm-hmm. The Corvette has a version where you rest your palm on this leather pedestal and your fingers dangle down, and that's how you articulate the knob. It's freaking awesome.
Like the what movie was it where he had the glove that he was doing?
Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Sort of. I mean, yeah, but it's like where you would put your hand on the center console anyway, and your palm is resting on this nice little stitched leather thing, and then your fingers are manipulating the selector knob, and it's really cool, and I like it a lot.
Do you remember that picture that came out when it might have even been like an XKCD comic or something like that? That was when the Xbox Kinect first came out, and it was like what I thought Xbox Kinect was going to be like, and it's like the dude in the chair with like, and it's like the Matrix screen in front of him with all the like Cortana, do blah 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 whatever, and then like the next panel is like him just like waving his arms around.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Do you know this picture, Pierce?
I don't.
Oh my god, I gotta find it.
There's
so
an
good.
XKCD comic for everything.
Yeah, was that XKCD?
I'm
pretty sure it was.
All I can think of is that soul-crushing Star Wars Just Dance game.
Oh my god, what?
What?
The Kinect, it's the Just Dance for Kinect, but it's like the Star Wars version, so you're like doing the hula with like Carbonite Han Solo.
Oh my god.
It's unbelievable.
And the what's her name? The Jabba's Palace slave dancer.
It's like, behold the future of gaming.
Fantastic. I'll never forget when that system first came out. I think maybe it was for the PlayStation version.
The iView.
iView or whatever it was. But there was a video that got posted to YouTube of a guy who was doing a racing game. And like the point of the visual system is it's supposed to track your hands, right? So he's just sitting on the edge of his couch, just sitting there, holding completely still, not moving the whole time he's doing this race. And he wins. He comes in first place. He doesn't steer or anything with his hands at all. And the car is just totally going.
Have you played any Forza games?
No.
No, okay. When you start the Forza Motorsport, I don't know Horizon because I don't play that arcade crap. But on the Forza Motorsport games, the first race you do has like all the assists turn on and you can't turn them off yet. And that's basically what it's like. You just push the gas pedal and don't touch any other buttons and you win. Like, it's the stupidest thing in the world.
Maybe that's what it was.
What you got? Corey is like tapping furiously on his phone.
I'm trying desperately to find this comic, and I cannot find it.
Lightning, Hyundai Veloster, Mazda CX-50. So we had talked about possibly a topic that you guys thought we could do an entire podcast on, but I don't know about all that. About the most mediocre car ever made,
right?
Or at least within living memory.
I say 25 years.
Okay,
or thereabouts.
So I Googled it. I was like, "What is the most mediocre car ever?" And like. None of them really hit me. I had one right off the bat.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that later. Obviously, the first thing that came to my mind that's also on this list of like one of the worst cars ever is the PT Cruiser. But I did not think of that because someone actually put a lot of effort into the styling. So it's not the most mediocre car.
But we're not talking about the worst car ever.
Yes,
we're talking about the most mediocre car
That's
ever.
why I didn't pick it, because someone put genuine effort into trying to style that thing.
But even aside from that, it's literally like physically revolting and therefore cannot be meh. You know, as far as like a boring car goes, the PT Cruiser does not qualify.
Okay, Pierce.
Because
what do you
think? It's like stunningly unattractive.
What in your head when you say what is the most mediocre car ever made? What is your criteria that you're thinking of to judge this car by?
When this topic was brought up, I immediately I began thinking of every Nissan, every Hyundai.
These are some broad strokes,
right? Because they're all bad cars, but in the thought process, you know, as I was trying to like figure out like which was the worst one, I sort of like got in my own head and I was like, well, it can't be any Nissan or any Hyundai because they're not boring. They're all plagued with significant issues that like when they leave you on the side of the road, you know, that's kind of an exciting event, you know.
So you're going with like Jeremy Clarkson's Alfa Romeo mental headspace.
Not even Alfa Romeos, because they're exciting in the sense that they're literally a time bomb.
This is literally Jeremy Clarkson's Alfa Romeo argument. Everyone should have owned an Alfa Romeo because they're exciting, even if that means the excitement is them leaving you stranded on the side of the road.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't have the world's most boring car can't also be the worst car.
But the criteria wasn't boring. The criteria was mediocre. So when when that was brought up in conversation, my thought was, what is the car that the manufacturer put the absolute bare minimum least effort into creating?
Yeah, or has like, I don't want to say no redeeming qualities, but like is so just like, who cares? Like,
yeah, sure.
You know, nobody is ever excited when they see one.
Yes.
It's not interesting to drive.
Yes.
It's not.
Yes.
You know, I'll give a pass to like mechanical problems because like
I feel like engineering is separate from this discussion.
But if you open it up to engineering problems, then or like mechanical problems, I mean that widens the field almost impossibly.
Oh, for sure.
Because then you could lump in every Hyundai ever, because they're all
and every Alfa Romeo ever.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Can I tell you what car I thought of that spawned this conversation?
Yes.
The third generation, so from like 2002 to 2006 or something like that, Nissan Altima
that's a good
one. Champagne color. Yeah, because they had like almost color matched interiors that were just like so boring, and their seats were like rigid 90-degree angles. And
I feel like everything you're saying could be applied to every Nissan Altima ever.
That's fair, but at least the newer ones look interesting.
Yeah.
Ish.
Okay. Some people could think that is a very good looking car.
Someone somewhere put some effort into designing the exterior of that
which
car.
I do not feel like is true of that third generation Altima.
Fair.
It's like, especially in like that champagne colored.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's the worst.
3/4 of them came in.
Matt Farah calls that Jewish racing gold.
Wow.
Oh, no. Which is the most hilarious thing in the world to me.
Oh, no. That's so terrible.
It's the best. It's so good.
It's so bad.
I want to disagree with you because I know that I don't know specifically about that version of the Altima, but I know that Nissans have always had constantly throughout their life.
After 1998, it seems like
every version of every Nissan has always had one significant issue that makes them a crap car.
I don't that is a fair argument, but I don't think that specifically negates the fact that it is such a mediocre car.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't look twice at it as it went down the road.
All right, so what do you...
Is that... I have several thoughts, arguments.
Hit
me with one.
We're here for it. Oh, he's pulling out the notebook, folks.
Notebook. So the first one that entered my mind was so significantly insignificant that I don't even know what it is. My grandfather owned a Chrysler when he lived in Richmond with us.
You can just stop right there.
But it was so it was like a Dynasty maybe, or it was a 4-door sedan.
It one of the K cars?
Yeah, it was like
the K chassis,
newer, but it wasn't called it wasn't the K. For a while in the 80s they were called K cars.
Kind of. It was a K platform, yeah.
So I think, and it was still the same chassis, basically. I think it was a Dynasty.
Sure.
Marshall Jones's brother had one for a while.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And you can't remember what it was, do you?
Doesn't matter.
But it does, because that's why it's such a mediocre car. They don't break down.
Yeah.
They don't look significant. They don't get particularly good fuel mileage, so they're not exciting. This was going to be
part of my answer. It was every American car from 1974 to 1998 was just mediocre, absolute fucking garbage.
So I feel like this is why I gave the qualifier of in the last 25 years, because you could basically pick any car made by Chrysler in that period.
No, you can't pick any car because
pretty much.
No, the LeBaron was significant because it was a convertible that made it desirable to a lot of people.
Wow, they did a thing that car manufacturers have been doing since the 40s.
But then every other version of every other Dodge car came in some turbocharged model that also made them desirable and like cool, you know.
But it wasn't good though.
It doesn't need to be good. It just to be mediocre would be
to be unremarkable.
Right.
Which does not have positive nor negative connotations.
Exactly. So if there's like a turbo version of the car, that immediately disqualifies it.
So, but does it though? Because like there's still a base model. Like the
doesn't matter.
The Neon is a terrible car.
Yeah,
the Neon SRT4
right
also
is remarkable.
Right.
Did you know that they made a Neon ACR?
Yes.
Specifically for SCCA club racing?
There were like 1,200 of them or something?
That does not.
There's
not
more
many.
than that.
More?
But it's a non-turbo Neon that has like base model everything else, but it has the twin cam motor and they're really good cars.
That's cool. That's cool.
But even the Neon can't be counted because they were such garbage ass cars. Like
okay, that's
the normal
that's fair.
Neon.
But I mean just in the fact that like can you disqualify the entire chassis if only a specific model was cool?
So, yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because the PT Cruiser is a
argument.
Neon,
right? But my argument,
But that's your argument that if there is a cool model of
version of that car, it can't be considered.
Okay, that's
so
fair.
Like one option that I was considering was the Dodge Shadow, but they made a Dodge Shadow in a Shelby version, so obviously that's a cool car.
Yeah.
So
did that have like that old 2-liter turbo, whatever they had back in the day?
I honestly have
it
no
doesn't
idea.
matter. It has Carroll Shelby's name on it.
That doesn't mean much anymore.
Well,
but
there's a lot of really shitty Shelby Mustangs.
I'm not
Carroll Shelby's name.
I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm saying that it has his name on it, and that makes it remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
I can't really argue with that, I guess.
I have several other considerations
Go
here,
for it.
but I'd like to hear about what Jordan has.
Well, I said every American car from 1974 to 1998, but my biggest one was the Plymouth Breeze because it is a rebadged version of a rebadged version of a Chrysler Cirrus, which is like the least remarkable vehicle that's ever existed on the planet of Earth.
And I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, because that chassis was literally branded as the new age Dodge. And you can't have a mediocre car be called new age. It doesn't count.
What?
What?
When that car was like released, it was,
I'm pretty sure 80% of the sales of that car were for rental fleets because it was so like nobody wanted it. It was so boring.
They were so like angular and
the Cirrus.
Yeah, they were literally called like the cutting edge or the new age.
The Dodge
Chrysler.
version, which was the
marketing is like a different question altogether.
The Dodge version, which was like the I forget what the Dodge version was. The Stratus.
The Dodge Stratus.
The Dodge Stratus was the least awful version of them in terms of looks, but like the Chrysler Cirrus, the Plymouth Breeze, like they're just the worst.
Yeah, and they can't be a mediocre car if they're bad.
I just disagree with you, I guess, on a fundamental level.
See, this is why we tried to define the word mediocre before we started this conversation.
Look, the least amount of effort put into mediocre, the least amount of effort that an automaker put into building the car. Chrysler said, well, we've got the Cirrus. Let's just make it cheaper and put Plymouth badges on it. That's the Plymouth Breeze. Also, any other badge engineered car like the Chrysler Conquest, which is just a Mitsubishi Stereon with Chrysler badges on it, that's pretty mediocre.
Are you literally telling me right now that the Conquest is a mediocre car?
No, the Conquest is a great car, but it took zero effort for Chrysler to make because they literally just took another car and put other badges on it.
Well, they owned Mitsubishi at that point.
They did not own Mitsubishi.
Well, they were partners or whatever.
They made an agreement to co-produce these cars.
So my other entry into this category is any of the mid-tier Chevy crossovers from like the last 8 years
or more. Yeah.
Does
anyone even know what they are?
Well, like the Equinox, the Trax.
The Trax is such a terrible vehicle.
Exactly, which is why it can't be considered for this argument.
I don't know that. How does that disqualify it by being a terrible vehicle?
Because it's not mediocre. It's not boring. It's shit.
Because you know that it's a terrible vehicle?
Yes, and you know that it's going to explode on you at one point.
So the Nissan Versa is a pretty compelling argument then, because it's not a terrible vehicle. It is a
garbage. What are you talking about? It's possibly the worst of all the Nissans. The Versa was the Nissan that Nissan forgot about. They were like, all right,
Here we go.
No, they were all right. So Nissan came, or Peugeot came to Nissan, or however it worked out. They were like,
first of all, it's a Renault.
Sorry, Renault. They were like, look, we need a car that we can sell at the Dollar Tree. What do you got? And Nissan was like, well, here's some leftover parts that we molded into the like a rough shape of a car. Like the door locks don't work sometimes. The engines fall out on occasion. But this is what we got. You can sell it for $11,000. The Versa might be the most exciting Nissan ever. In a negative sense.
You heard it here first. How do you feel about the Chevy Aveo?
More exciting than the GTR.
Oh, so much more exciting than the GTR.
The GTR works.
Until you leave the transmission on the ground.
I'm so
Only in the first 2 model years.
Oh my god, that was so funny. Wasn't the Versa literally the least expensive car you could buy for a very long time?
It was after the Chevy Aveo was discontinued.
Well, but for a long time, it was the Hyundai Accent. In 2008 through 2011, you could get a Hyundai Accent for $8,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Now it's the
new.
Mitsubishi. What's the small Mitsubishi?
Oh, Mirage.
Yeah, the
God,
Mirage.
talk about a crap ass vehicle.
But dude, if you need a brand new car with a warranty,
yeah,
I mean that's not the worst thing in the world.
But isn't it though?
I would never buy one. I would buy a 10-year-old Toyota because it's just as reliable as a brand new Mitsubishi.
So no, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember where we were. You were talking about. What were you talking about? I don't even.
The Chevy Equinox.
Oh, okay. The Equinox.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you because they're also largely crap.
That's fair, but I feel like in this.
I feel like you have to define mediocre as the manufacturer put as little effort as possible into the design and manufacture of this
mediocre
vehicle.
car is one that you would forget about. You don't maintain it. It's not exciting in any way.
So
that's
most
mediocre.
Lexus and Toyota products and Honda products, honestly.
Except that they can't be counted because most Toyotas get semi-decent fuel mileage. So they're desirable in the sense that if you wanted a good car that lasts a long time, like a Toyota Corolla from 96.
Sure.
That's a car that somebody would go shopping for intentionally. I took this discussion topic to mean something that would just kind of come around and you'd be like, yeah, okay. Maybe the first car that your parents gave you or your
so a
grandma
1993 Chevy
you.
Lumina.
That's on my list, actually.
Really?
That's the next car that's on my list is the
whatever platform that was.
Specifically the 95 to 01 Lumina. Because
I think that's the second gen.
Third gen, I believe.
In this discussion of mediocrity, I feel like this mediocre discussion of mediocrity. I feel like it's not. I don't think any one point can disqualify a car. You know what I mean? I think it's a range. I think you have some mobility in the it may be a crap car, but it's also there can be a balance of the scale. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I feel like your line of it is just a shitty vehicle is a little prejudiced.
Yeah.
So because you're exposed to it, but
yeah.
But who has ever been excited about a Chevy Equinox?
Literally no one.
Well,
That's
but
what I'm saying.
The Equinox came in an SS,
and too many people bought them. Not the
honestly,
SS, but
what drivetrain was in that?
the SS. It had the Honda J engine.
What?
Yeah, it had the Honda V6.
I know the View Redline had that.
Yeah.
Is it the same thing?
Same.
That's kind of cool.
Except
actually.
the Equinox didn't have a manual option, I don't think.
I don't think the View Redline did either.
It did.
It
Yes,
did.
absolutely
What?
did.
Yeah.
You can
Those
get
are
a
such
manual View Redline. I
Those
need
are
to get
such
on
cool
freaking
cars.
Auto Trader right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, they're
I
very
love
cool
Saturn,
cars.
man.
Yeah,
Saturn was the best.
Saturns were really, really underrated until they became specifically just badge engineered Chevys. But when they were doing the SLs and SCs and all those cool plastic cladded coupes and wagons and stuff. Those were neat cars. They were terrible, but they were cool.
They were really cool.
I don't even know if I necessarily agree that they were terrible, because they were relatively reliable. Like, they got okay fuel economy. They had twin cam engines, which was futuristic technology for Chevy in 2005.
A lot of the issues that came from the Saturns of that era were that they were just made cheaply. So, like, you never really knew what was going to go wrong at any given point.
They were also, like, the main test bed for the Ecotec motors, I recall, which are genuinely great engines.
Yeah.
The Ecotec that came in the L200 that I had the, quote, hot cam option specifically in that car.
It's like they used it in that before they put it in the Cobalt SS.
It had like 6 more horsepower or something.
What's really funny, I remember that car, you would open the hood and look at it and be like, holy crap, there's so much room in this engine bay. And then we realized there was a V6 option.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, that makes sense.
You could stand in the engine bay.
Yeah, for sure.
I missed that car. I saw one the other day and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It was a genuinely fun car.
It was a good car. So what car is next on your list?
Well, my father got wind of what we were going to be talking about. He wanted me to mention the Ford Fairmont. When it was originally released, it was like a 4-cylinder, 4-door sedan, and it just looked like the most basic box, boring-ass Sears-ordered car. And it was like a front-wheel drive, 4-cylinder. But then, like, as it got older, it turned into the Ford LTD, which was based on the Fox body chassis, and actually turned out to be like a really badass car. So I don't think we can count that in the argument. So shout out to my dad, sorry. But the next car that I have on my list is the 04 to 2012 Mitsubishi Galant. The last generation of the Mitsubishi Galant.
I cannot picture that in my head.
Exactly.
So I agree.
Yep. That's a good.
It doesn't have. I think there were no special models. I'm pretty sure that they all came with hubcaps.
I'm pretty sure the only generation of Galant that came in any sort of special edition was the one that you could get the VR4 in.
There were 2 generations of VR4.
Were there?
Yes.
Okay.
The generation before this one, and then the generation before that.
Like the early 90s, because it was pre-Evo, was the Galant VR4.
Okay.
So it was like 91.
That's
maybe.
fair.
So the 04 to 12 Galant, I mean, it remained completely unchanged through the life of its production. It was mostly plastic. They didn't do anything particularly well.
Could one make the same argument for the Nissan Frontier?
The Frontier pickup?
Yeah.
No.
It's been the same since like 2001.
I feel like just automatically pickup trucks are excluded.
Yeah. They're
Fair
useful.
enough. Okay.
Yeah.
They're desirable.
Because they're useful.
For the same reason that, like, I was considering, like, the Dodge Caravan, but it's a minivan.
But it's a minivan, so it's automatically cool. Yeah.
Well, not cool, but, like, I mean, sort of cool.
It has a use case.
It has a use.
That's fair.
There was a certain point in, like, high school when I knew, like, 3 people who had Mitsubishi Galants, and they just drove them. They never even replaced the tires on them. Like, they had AC, and that was it. There was a radio and AC. Cool.
That's a really good answer.
That's a pretty good answer. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Do you have another one?
I couldn't think of another one better than the Plymouth Breeze, honestly. The first thing that my brain went to was the PT Cruiser, but the styling, as awful as it is, someone put a lot of work into trying to make that thing kind of look like a certain vision.
And it was weird enough that some people really, really liked them.
Oh my God. There was an insane
a huge cult following for the PT Cruiser. Yeah. But also, did you guys know that the convertible PT Cruiser with the top down, the 2-door convertible PT Cruiser with the top down, accidentally has like a 0.3 coefficient of drag? It's actually like super aerodynamic.
Sure.
Yeah.
It probably also has the chassis rigidity of overcooked spaghetti.
That's irrelevant. I mean, it's not irrelevant. I remember reading about like a Road and Track article where they like discovered that it accidentally had like a crazy drag coefficient, so they were trying to justify it on track, and it didn't work out. But yeah,
it's gonna be a nah from me, dog.
Yeah,
I remember back in the day, my dad had one as a rental car, not a convertible, just a regular PT Cruiser coupe. He had one as a rental car for some business reason. We drove around the block in it, and I was like, I have never been in a car that had so much body roll that was also so jarring and uncomfortable over bumps. Like, it was super stiff and super soft at the same time in the worst ways of both.
The Volvo S60 convertible is that car for me.
Yeah.
The most uncomfortable experience I've ever had driving a car.
Really, an S60?
Yes. This was like...
Didn't Jackie's dad have 2 of those?
S60 convertibles?
I'm pretty sure he had 2 red S60 convertibles at the same time back in the day.
I have no idea.
It was loud. It was stiff in like the most uncomfortable sense, and just the most wobbliest car around a turn.
How do you mess that up? Like how do you have such
drive the car?
How do you have such soft, wallowy suspension that is also super uncomfortable over bumps at the same time?
From a Volvo, which is
crazy.
Like one of the most over-engineered cars ever. You know, all Volvos have been super high quality since like the early 90s, I guess. I don't know. Did you have another car?
No.
Okay.
I had the Equinox and the Altima.
My immediate winner in my mind was the 92 no, that can't be right. Well, okay, so like the first round version of the Ford Taurus.
That was on my list. Like
they were everywhere.
Yeah.
Like the first gen SHO body style. It's just a jelly bean.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
that has the worst interior design of any car I've ever seen.
Terrible.
Okay, so I've never been in one, so I don't know. Okay, so this is 92 to 95. That's remarkable. That's even more remarkable to me that this car was only produced for 3 years, because they were literally everywhere.
Let me see. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of the generation after that, actually.
Yeah, the generation after this was the like the really round one with the round headlights, and that car was...
I thought that's the one you were talking about.
So the second gen SHO.
The second generation Taurus is what I'm specifically talking about. The first generation looked more like a Tempo.
It had like almost like rectangular headlights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second generation was the one that, I mean, it's this one.
Oh, I was thinking that was the first gen.
No, this is the second generation.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the first gen look like?
The first gen looks like a Tempo.
Oh, okay.
So this,
in my head, I'm picturing the third gen, the jelly bean car.
That's what I thought.
The actual jelly bean, like round headlight car, was not boring enough because it wasn't like, it had a lot of its own issues that in my mind make it not allowed to be qualified for mediocrity.
Yeah.
However, this Taurus came in the SHO, which was kind of cool.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So the sheer number of the base Taurus,
the SHO was only like a couple thousand cars. It wasn't a lot.
I feel like the jelly bean car was the one
much worse
that were everywhere.
See,
I agree.
I hear you, but the second generation Taurus paved the way for that third generation jelly bean.
That's
because like the second generation Taurus was so prevalent and so widespread.
There were a ton of those
that I feel like everybody went out and got the third generation, and then they died out like immediately because they had head gasket issues, they had transmission issues.
Even the SHOs had some pretty significant issues.
But the second generation cars, like, they didn't get particularly good gas mileage.
They weren't good at anything.
Exactly. But they didn't need a lot of work. They didn't need to be constantly
They were probably
maintained.
really cheap to buy.
Right. I feel like everybody I know had one or was driving one at some point.
What's the Ford? It's not the Windstar. What's the Ford van?
There was the Aerostar,
the Aerostar,
and the Freestar.
The
Aerostar was the first minivan that they had, and it was actually rear-wheel drive.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Those things were everywhere, and then they just all, after like 15, they hit the 15-year mark, and they just all fell off the face of the earth, except for Rex Fickens, who somehow lives on.
Yeah, it does.
It's like 80% expandable foam by volume, but that's okay.
They had issues with the rear leaf spring shackles rusting off of, or where the leaf springs
I think
attached.
every Ford, even like the Aerostar, the mainline Ford minivan that competed with the Town and Country, had a ton of rust issues. I remember those had like
that was the Freestar at that point.
Yeah, the huge recalls for especially rear axle rust.
Yeah.
At that point, yeah.
The Taurus is interesting, but it sold so well. Like there were so many of them that it was Ford was just like printing money.
Yeah.
With them.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like a cash cow for them.
Yes.
To do whatever they wanted.
I
for forever.
Firmly believe that car allowed Ford to build like the GT40 and like just do like the crazy shit.
And like that's what allowed the Mustang to stay a rear-wheel drive platform instead of going to the Probe platform.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That the Ford Taurus was what allowed Ford to do like basically whatever they wanted for like a long time. You know, the money that the revenue that they generated from that car specifically for 3 model years, that makes it even more significant in my mind. So I mean, maybe that makes it not a mediocre car.
It's actually a fairly significant car,
I guess.
now that we think about it.
Now that I've been talking about it, you know, I kind of
I'm
not sure that I can say that
because you kind of disqualified a bunch of stuff earlier by saying if there was a higher end, more exciting version of it. The SHO was a pretty cool, exciting version of that car.
Yeah, like even to this day, like somebody would go look for that second generation SHO.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
it's the last generation SHO. I think the last generation SHO you could get with a manual transmission.
I'll take your word for it.
Interesting.
The first and last?
No, there were 3 generations of SHO.
Right, but that was the first generation of SHO. And if that was the last one with the manual transmission.
You may have been able to get a Jelly Bean SHO with the manual. But I know you can't get the current, like the police car version of the SHO with a manual. Oh, that was really nice.
Was there something else? What was the other thing we were going to talk about? I feel like we had another thing.
Well, so who wins?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are there any winners in that?
Or did
group?
we all just lose?
I think the world as a whole just lost.
No,
the Taurus definitely doesn't win most mediocre car because it, as we have discussed, actually kind of had a pretty significant impact.
Right. So it's got to be the Mitsubishi Galant then, right?
I won't necessarily disagree.
It's the Galant or it's the Altima.
I still like the Plymouth Breeze, but that's just me. I hate that Chrysler era so much.
That's reasonable.
But that's
so terrible.
That's why it can't be mediocre.
But so many people had them. It's almost like the Taurus. They were everywhere for so long until they hit that 120,000 miles and the transmission fell at the bottom of them.
Yeah, that was.
Do we like put a poll out or something?
Nobody's gonna vote on that.
Well, listen, I can dream. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the most boring segment we've ever done.
I don't know about that. I had a lot of fun talking about that. Do we want?
I could pick out a number of other vehicles and continue.
I was gonna say, but do you have anything that's been happening to you recently in your personal car life?
No, I haven't touched any of my cars for a while. I mean,
me too. It's been so freaking hot. I cannot bring myself to go get in that garage and turn some wrenches on that thing.
I understand.
I can't do it.
Well, for me, it's more about just like finding the time and having the money. Also, you know, all my stuff is actually working. You know, the cars that are running are, well, which is all of them actually. Are running pretty good.
Massive props, because that has not been the case for quite some time.
For the entirety of my car owning life, I've almost always had at least one car that didn't run or wasn't roadworthy. But as of 2019, I guess even, all 5 of the vehicles that I own are titled, inspected, registered, and street legal.
Hey,
yeah.
Was it RX-7, RX-7 Suburban, Corona,
Suzuki Swift, and Honda CR-V.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's like a really big deal because you had a pretty rough. Like, you always were that guy that had like 1,000 cars and 2 of them ran for so long.
Yeah. And I guess technically the RX-7 isn't like street legal. I need to just go ahead and get like antique plates for it.
Yeah. My inspection on the 4Runner expired in July of 2020.
Oh,
sweet.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
It's fine.
It's fine. You know, it's fine. It's fine.
When you selling that GTI, Corey?
I don't know, man. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm just gonna keep bugging you.
I know, it's because you're a good friend.
I know. I try. I want to see you in an ND Miata so bad.
Yeah, everybody's buying one.
Steve just got one.
I know he did.
He just got a white one or a gray. I'm not sure what color it is.
Are you trying to sell the GTI, or you're not trying to fix it anymore?
Maybe fix then sell if it'll get more money.
Yeah, I'll probably fix it and then sell it.
It's just an ignition thing, right? It just needs some coil packs.
I think so.
And probably like new fuel at this point.
Yeah, probably need to drain it and stuff.
But. Yeah, you don't think it jumped timing again?
I don't think so.
I think the updated part numbers for those components don't let it fail in that way, right?
Yeah, that whatever it is, that idler pulley or whatever that let it jump fails in a different way now if it fails. So if it fails, it does not hand grenade the engine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
These are positive changes.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know. I do like that car though. I still do.
But when was the last time you drove it?
It's been a while.
It's been years.
Like, is it more than a year since you've driven that car?
Oh, yeah.
My God.
I mean, because all of 2020 happened, and I feel like that car has been sitting for at least a year before that.
I feel bad if the MR2 sits for more than like 3 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Like, if I had a car that sat for a year, I would have no qualms just selling it and getting something else.
Well, I don't know about that.
I'm saying for me, like, because you're not using it.
Yeah.
Why have
fair.
it? You know.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. I don't know. Trying to get rid of the car.
And somebody somewhere will buy that car for sure.
I mean, do you really want to be the guy that only has a RAV4 or a RAV4?
No.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, I do not.
Yeah.
Oof.
I don't know.
It's not a bad car.
No, it's
just
not a bad
not
car.
a good car.
That is very true. It is reliable. That is the good thing about it.
Yeah.
It's gonna take. It's gonna take Steve coming over here, putting me in his ND.
Don't do it.
Letting me drive it around.
Or actually, no, absolutely do it.
Well, only if you're prepared to actually pull that trigger. Because
I drove Landons for like maybe a 5-minute drive, and I was like, yeah. I 100%. This is like the best car Mazda's ever made. Yeah. Like 100%.
They're so pretty.
And they drive just as good as they look.
I know.
It's so good.
I want one so bad. I was I might have said this on the podcast last time, but I was in a Target parking lot with Joel. We were like, it doesn't matter. We're leaving the parking lot, and there was a red one with the RF hardtop. And I pointed at it, and I said, I'm going to buy one of those one day. And she was like, what? I was like, you don't understand. I'm going to buy one of those one day.
Can I tell you my mild frustration with the fact that I don't know if either of y'all follow Gears and Gasoline on YouTube at all?
Not so much recently.
They just bought a MR2 Spider. I actually saw this car on Auto Trader.
I saw this.
They bought the cheapest MR2 Spider on Auto Trader and are now turning it into a track car, and I cannot express to you in human spoken language how jealous I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a former Pimp My Ride car?
I don't know if it was a former Pimp My Ride car, but it is. Whoever had it last did not do it any favors. It's rough. But
yeah, I don't think it was officially a Pimp My Ride car, but it was definitely in that like taste of modification for sure.
I could have sworn the title of the article was former Pimp My Ride car.
It looks like it could have been. I don't think it was, but
okay.
I saw the Instagram clip where he was talking about it's a red car and it had gold stripes all over it, tinfoil stripes all over it, because he wanted it to be Iron Man theme.
Yes,
but then his girlfriend
with Batman logos on it.
His girlfriend said that she would not ride in the vehicle unless it had Batman motifs or whatever in it. So then it had it was all Iron Man with a Batman emblem on the front bumper. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Yeah. It's he has a whole video of him taking off all of the old crap that the previous owner had on it. I've never seen fake leather stitching that you put in over dash seams, but that's a thing now apparently, is fake leather stitching that goes in over the seams of where dash.
Is it like a sticker that looks like baseball stitching or something?
Kind of.
I can't even imagine what you're talking about right now. I can't even pull up.
It blew my mind when I saw it.
That's terrible. That is terrible.
But he's so far he's taken all the bad stuff off. He's putting wide, nice tires and wheels on it with good brake pads and the stock exhaust back on it, and it's perfect, and I want it so bad.
It just is a race car, right? It doesn't. It's what, a 2ZZ, right?
1ZZ.
1ZZ. It's relatively powerful. It's
135 horsepower. So it's the same motor as a base model Corolla.
I mean, it's basically a Lotus, Elise?
No, the Elise has a 2ZZ.
Well, okay, but still, though.
And it also has double wishbone suspension, which the MR2 doesn't have. The MR2 Spider, the best thing that it has going for it is that it weighs like 2,100 pounds.
Yeah.
And it has a more rigid chassis than any other MR2, even though it's a convertible. So it is the best handling MR2 you can buy from stock for stock.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was a time when you could get those for a decent price.
Not really.
No.
The lowest I've ever seen, I almost bought one off of Facebook Marketplace for about $2,500 that had flood damage and had electrical problems because of flood damage, and I didn't care because it was all going to get swapped out anyway. That's the cheapest I've ever seen. Like, they are now going back up, and they're now hovering around the 10 grand mark, which is absolutely ridiculous.
But I feel like there was a moment where you could get them for like $4 or $5 grand.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's I mean, for a car that you could basically drive, all week and then on the track on the weekends. I mean, that's with basically just a tire, like a tire,
tires and a roll bar.
Swap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could do that, or you could get a Porsche.
Yeah, the Porsche Boxster is like the next closest in
and
price used mid-engine car that you can buy.
And like 3 times the price. Well, I don't know anymore.
The Boxsters are pretty cheap. The early first, like a 99 Boxster is pretty cheap.
Are they like $5,000 cheap?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They're not good. They break a lot.
Oh.
They have IMS problems.
So I haven't, speaking of Porsche Boxsters and YouTube, I haven't actually watched the video, but do you know Wesley Kagan, whatever his name is? It's the guy that did the, he put Koenigsegg free valve on the Harbor Freight motor.
Yes, I know that.
And then subsequently did it on his Miata.
Yes.
Yeah. So he built a replica 60s Porsche F1 car out of a Boxster. Like in his garage.
You have my attention.
Yeah, I haven't watched the video, but it's like it doesn't the clips all like it doesn't have like fairings or anything on it, but it like
if he like crafted like a 917 style fiberglass body to put over a Boxster.
It's just like a bare frame.
It's got pushrod suspension.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Dear God.
It looks really wild, but apparently he made it out of a Boxer.
Yeah, if you put if he made like a fiberglass like 917 Le Mans style fiberglass body for that could be the coolest thing ever.
I think, and then later he swapped in a Jaguar V12.
I'm sorry,
or something like
what?
That. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. That dude's YouTube channel is insane. It's so wild. I don't know what he does here, but he's some sort of engineer. And
you would have to be.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what he's done. He did his free valve 2.0 motor on the Harbor Freight motor, and instead of having like a physical valve that moves, it's still a physical valve. Instead of having a like valve that you push open and seals against the head or whatever, he rebuilt the entire head so that there are 2 discs that spin and they have a hole in them. And so each disc is controlled by a motor, and one is for intake and one is for exhaust. Yeah, I know. I know.
I feel like that can't possibly seal as well as a valve, though.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And it was like mostly 3D printed, and it was like it only sort of worked.
Okay.
It was like a proof of concept. Like
yeah.
Yeah. But it's
I
crazy.
get it.
But it's crazy.
I'm not an engineer, but
I'm not a rapper.
I can't understand how that would be a better design.
It is infinitely adjustable.
I mean, that's how. So is Fiat's
duration,
free valve.
Yeah. So is the solenoid thing.
Yeah, I know.
So
but he wanted to do something different because he's a wild YouTuber. And,
all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's like having a butterfly throttle body versus like a old motorcycle style like sliding throttle body. Mm-hmm. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of the same. Like, why do it the same? Maybe there's an advantage here. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I think the idea is literally just that you can control duration and everything independently, and it's the same argument for free valve. It just is a different method, I suppose.
Right.
That doesn't. You don't have to have a spring to force the valve shut again, and so you don't have to have an actuator strong enough to push against the spring, or subsequently strong enough to pull the valve closed. You know what I mean? Because if all you have is a spinning disc, there's
Right.
there's no like inertia in the disc. Not in the same way that there is in a valve.
Especially not in a spring that you
Yeah.
have to push against. You just change how fast that disc is spinning around.
Right.
I sort of understand that, but again, I just don't feel like it could possibly seal as well.
Oh no, yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Especially holding in combustion
Right.
gases and stuff.
Especially if you like turbocharged it, where
Oh,
he
yeah.
has to hold in pressure, like real pressure.
Yeah.
Like
No, I doubt that it does, but it's just a cool thing. I don't know.
It is certainly interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, why do we do anything ever? Like, what was it I saw the other day? It was like a rear mounted I forget what the vehicle was, but it was some SUV from the 80s. It was like a rear mounted 12-cylinder rotary airplane engine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That makes 300 or 400 horsepower. Who cares?
why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have this engine and we have this car. Why not?
In a slightly more relatable why not type of thinking, a coworker of mine that has the ridiculous S13 has been having problems with the head lifting, even with ARP hardware. The head will lift because he's running like over 30 pounds of boost. Seeing if the wastegate sticks, he sees 50 pounds of boost.
Jeez.
He's making 700 horsepower on a KA, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But he figured out that if he drills out the threads in the block and runs these certain time certs and then runs this certain year Mitsubishi ARP custom age stud, he can run like 3mm larger studs and hopefully prevent the head from lifting. So Timmy is a mad scientist.
I mean, okay.
Could you not just... I mean, at what point does this become... I don't know. I mean...
Because the KA is a stronger block than the SR. Like, it is.
Yeah. I'm not thinking SR. I'm thinking like you could go VQ...
Or JZ.
JZ,
Yeah.
LS, and...
Because he doesn't want to.
I mean, okay.
It hasn't cost him that much money. He found a couple of places that had an overstock on Cometic multi-layer steel head gaskets for KAs. He bought like 15 of them.
Oh my god.
I think it evened out to like $20 a piece when he was done. So he just
Wow.
has like a stack of Cometic head gaskets.
I like cars, and I like working on cars.
I don't want to change my head gasket every 3 weeks,
no,
dude.
That's no.
But hopefully it won't be a problem after this. Okay, well, you guys want to plug your pluggables?
Plug my pluggables. I don't know why that was really funny to me. I mean, the usual c.crehan on Instagram for pictures of good food and ripped pants. I'm working on a pair right now.
All right.
Like 1 or 2 wears away, probably. Yeah.
You feel the seams popping?
Yeah, I can see it coming.
I love that there's just like a life gauge that just slowly goes down.
Plug your pluggables. I thought potent potables was the
Potent potables. The penis mightier.
The what?
The penis mightier.
Okay. So yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and all the cool stuff. Saavedra88 and Free Candy Media.
Definitely follow Pierce on TikTok because he posts some genuinely great content.
It's been like 2 weeks though.
But the
so
stuff that you have posted is really good. I really like it.
Thanks.
I'm on Instagram at The Daily Downshift. You can follow this podcast at Beer and Backfire on Instagram, Facebook. We're on SoundCloud, iTunes, Android,
Google Podcast,
Google, Spotify, wherever pods are casted.
It should be there.
We have an email address, beerandbackfire@gmail.com.
Tell us what you think the most mediocre car of all time is.
Or don't.
No,
Yeah,
do.
tell us.
Definitely do.
Definitely
if
tell
you've
us.
had a car that was more mediocre than the ones that are listed, I want to know about it for sure. Because I'm sure that there's like some super obscure French car that somebody's driving, and he's been driving it for 30 years, and it's had like 2 oil changes, and it's never had an issue. That's the car,
Okay.
It's a Renault Megane from 1997. All right. Well, everybody have a good night.
Love you.
candy.
Free candy.